Let's go. I am actually doing a live stream podcast, which is wild. I will wait a couple minutes for people to get in here. I don't know. I might have 0 viewers, which is something. I don't say this is a negative thing. I think it's very respectable to create when you have 0 viewers. And I actually think the purest form of art is doing something when you have 0 viewers because you're doing it for real love. Real love for the game is why you're doing it. But I'm going to let some people come in here. I'm going to take a sip of water, move this closer. Consider it yours, Lord. Alrighty. Let's get into the podcast. Solo episode 77, the pros and cons of dropping out. Yes, I am a college dropout of 2 years. I dropped out from San Diego State University, and today I'm going to cover the pros, 3 different things that I think have been huge advantages to dropping out, and I'm going to cover 3 things that have been huge disadvantages to dropping out, and then I'm going to go to 3 kind of miscellaneous positive and negative points. I do want to specify this is my first ever live stream podcast. I don't think I've ever live streamed other than going live on Instagram for 5 minutes a couple times. I do not know what this is going to be like, but I do plan to post this podcast, not only post the live stream to YouTube, but post it on Spotify and Apple and all the other podcast platforms. So if you come and you listen to this podcast and you think this is the worst podcast I've ever heard, why is it weird like this? Why is there live stream? I just want to redirect you to go watch anything else on my channel because I do not know how this episode is going to go, and I don't want this one-off innovation trying to innovate my podcast one time to be a representation of the podcast. So if this is the first thing you see and you don't like it, go check out literally any other podcast on my channel. It is completely different from this live stream podcast. I do want to say thank you to Armand and whoever my other viewer is for just coming and checking it out. I don't know. I thought I might have 0 viewers this whole live stream, but to have 2 already is freaking great. And I will be answering your questions as I speak. So I'm planning on being a 30-minute podcast. So hopefully you have some questions. And I'm going to start with 1 pro and then 1 con and then 1 pro and then 1 con. And we'll get into the first one right now, which is the first pro of dropping out is it forces you to have conviction. So what do I mean by the word conviction? Conviction. So a lot of times people, if you ask them what makes a speech good, they'll tell you a speech is good because of your confidence or your charisma. How do you succeed in your career? How do you succeed at the club? How do you succeed in anything? And people will say it's all about confidence. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that statement. I think it's more about conviction. What do I mean by conviction? If you go and watch the greatest speeches on YouTube, the greatest TED Talks, if you watch when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, if you go watch the most viewed TED Talk on YouTube, you will notice that these legendary speeches actually aren't that good in terms of confidence. They aren't that good in terms of posture. And Steve Jobs, when he released the iPhone, he used the words and like in his speech, yet we consider that one of the greatest speeches of all time. Elon Musk, who's also released some of the greatest speeches of all time, is not a good public speaker. So why do we consider these speeches some of the greatest of all time? And it's because speaking isn't really about confidence. It isn't really about charisma. It's about conviction. When Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, he believed in the product so much that the way he believed in it is how the listeners also believed in it. So, sorry, I'm getting distracted just looking at all the live stream stuff. But to recap this, Steve Jobs had a good speech not because he was a good speaker, not because he was confident, not because he was charismatic, but because he had conviction. He believed the iPhone would change the world, so his belief when talking about the iPhone was felt by the audience. It's the silent metric. Why do I call it the silent metric? Because when you look at a speaker who is confident, you can point out things about their confidence. If someone's crouched up like this, they're generally not that confident of a person. That shows, oh, they're not confident. If someone talks like this and they don't fluctuate their voice, that shows that they're not confident. So you can point out things about confidence. You can point out things about charisma, but it's hard to point out things about conviction. Conviction is your belief in yourself. It is the belief in your ideas. And when you drop out of school, you have to become the most convicted person in the room. You don't even really have a choice. It forces you to become convicted in what you do, because if you're like the average American, your parents probably aren't going to support your dropout. So therefore, two of the most monumental, important people in your life come and they think you've just created a homicide on the success of your life. And I know that story is not unique to me. I know that's pretty much the unanimous story amongst all my dropout friends, is that their parents disapprove. And then you have people judging you because you have people looking at you, in my case, with less than 1,000 subscribers, and they go, what is this idiot doing dropping out of school? So you get disapproval from the two most important people in your life, which are your parents. You get disapproval from your peers, from your friends, and if you're in my case where you have no subscribers, nothing to show for it, it forces you to have conviction. Regardless that my subscribers don't say I'm succeeding, regardless that my parents think this is a really dumb idea, regardless that my friends are judging me, I believe that I will make it one day. That is conviction. I think conviction is even more important than confidence, and I think that dropping out forces you to have conviction. So that is the first point of dropping out. The first pro of dropping out. Now, the first con... Hold on, my mom just texted me something kind of funny. Which is kind of funny. FYI, for future reference, don't have us buy you a $30 entree. Okay, so what's going on here is that I had this live stream scheduled. And it's so weird to just jump in and out reading my computer as I record. That's not something I usually do, and maybe I'll restart the live stream. I don't know yet. But my mom just said, she asked me if she wanted to buy me dinner. And I was like, yeah, that would be amazing, Mom. Please give me dinner. And then I said, by the way, when you come home, I'll be in the middle of a recording. So when you get home, I will come get the food after. And then she said, you sure you don't want it hot? Which I didn't respond to that text because I was in the middle of this live stream, which I was still in the middle of this live stream. Then she said, she double texted me and she said, FYI, for future reference, you don't have us buy you a $30 entree if you don't have time in your schedule to eat it fresh. Okay. So now I feel bad. And actually, I low-key think this scenario couldn't have been more perfect to read on the podcast, because what my mom's saying is completely reasonable. She's basically saying, hey, we did the nice thing and we bought you this food, and now you're saying you don't want to eat it right away because you scheduled filming. And she makes a really good point here. But this is a lot like what it's like to drop out. When your parents do everything for you so that they pay for your college, and their biggest dream for your life is to complete college, and then you have to say, hey, I don't think this is the best thing for my life, and you choose something that not only goes against their recommendation, but it goes against the money they've invested in you, you just have this guilt. Like, I have this guilt right now of not ending the stream and going to eat the dinner that my mom bought me. And when you drop out of school, that guilt is like 1,000x. And it's just something you got to learn and deal with. I probably will go grab this dinner and just eat it on stream because it's a live stream, and I think that's what this is supposed to be. Armand Saki says, I had to be delusionally confident to get to this point. I had no idea how to get here, but BS my way here. Armand, I could not agree with you more. That is the dropout life. It's just, you have a plan, you have a dream, you think you have a plan to get there, but in reality, you oftentimes don't, and then you just make it work. A lot of trying new things like this live stream podcast. So I'm going to go into the first con. First, I'm going to text my mom. I'm going to say, I will eat it fresh on stream, fresh on recording. Okay. I will eat it while recording. While recording. Feels so weird to leave this in the podcast because that's not what I'm used to. All right. The grass isn't always greener. I don't think the grass is ever greener. That's my opinion. They have tons of debt and we are having trouble landing jobs. Yes, I have debt too, though. I have the worst of both worlds because I went to college for 2 years, acquired debt, and then didn't acquire a degree, which you could say is the worst of both worlds. But in a way, it is the best of both worlds because I cut my losses short and now I'm pursuing my dream life. The first con of dropping out is missing out on things. I mean, right now we're in the month of April, but almost the month of May, and pretty much everyone graduates in May. And every year since I dropped out, which has only been 2 years, around the month of graduation, I just get this sorrow. I don't know why. It's not a sorrow of like, I wish. It's not a sorrow of like jealousy that my friends are graduating and I'm not. It's not a sorrow of like wanting to graduate. It's just the sorrow of knowing when I see people graduate and I see them do that thing with their gap and counts or whatever the frick it's called. When I see people graduating, it's like a reminder of the life I didn't choose. And while ultimately I will tell you why I think this was the right choice to drop out toward the end of the podcast, but ultimately while this was the right choice to drop out, in my opinion, seeing that cap and gown reminds me of all the things I missed out on, all the college parties, all the classroom conversations, all the fun on campus, and that moment of accomplishment, graduating, the degree, your parents' approval, the friendships. I think, contrary to popular belief, I really, really genuinely had a great time in college. I wasn't like miserable in college and then dropped out. I loved college. I loved my friends. I loved the experiences. I like learning, although I don't really like learning in the format that they lay it out in. And dropping out from that, it wasn't just like, oh, I hate my college life and now I'm dropping out. It really was, I really do enjoy this college life, but I think I'm going to invest in a life that I love more. And missing out applies to everything. In all honesty, there isn't a single chance that I would trade my current experiences for a classroom I have to pay for. I learned a lot and met the coolest like-minded people. I agree, Armand. I don't think I would trade any of my life. I don't think I would go back to college and trade any of it. But with that being said, if I could go back and drop out 2 years earlier, I wouldn't do that either, because I very much cherish the experiences that I had in the classroom. I'm going to move on to my second pro of dropping out. My second pro of dropping out is adventure opportunity. When you are in school, you have to be somewhere at a certain time. That is literally the definition of school. They give you a rubric, they give you a schedule, and you have to be in classroom at a certain time. And if you're not in a classroom, you have to get an assignment done at a certain time. And you begin to not only get used to being somewhere at school, but school is preparing you to be somewhere in life. And I don't mean be somewhere in life like accomplish great things and get to some next level in life. It's preparing you to be a follower. This is not a conspiracy theory. Our school system is based off the Prussia school system. The Prussia school system was invented because Germany lost a war that they shouldn't have lost. And they basically said, why did we lose this war we should have lost? And it was because the soldiers were too free thinking, and they didn't want their soldiers to be too free thinking. So they created a school system that made people followers, and they created one of the strongest militaries in the world. And America said, what school system should we copy? And they copied Prussia. So our school system is based off Germany/Prussia, and we are trained to make people followers, not leaders. So when you go to school, you're training to become a follower. That's why generally it goes from school, where you have to be somewhere on a certain schedule, to a 9-to-5 job where you have to be somewhere on a certain schedule. You have assignments in school, you have assignments in your 9-to-5 job. And in a way, I could say this live stream, this podcast, is an assignment as well. So I do assignments. I have to be in places to record podcasts, but I am a leader. I get to determine my schedule. Right now, I'm filming this podcast 7 p.m. on a Thursday. Why? Because I like to film 7 p.m. on a Thursday. I don't know. I get to experiment. No one tells me you can't live stream your podcast. No one says you have to do it this way or this way. I just choose it. I get to do it. I'm in charge. I'm the boss of my schedule. So the second pro of dropping out is adventure opportunity. So the first part of adventure opportunity is the fact that you get to control your schedule. And when you get to control your schedule and adventures arise, you can go on those adventures. So just last week, I flew to New York City, and then I went to Vermont, and then I came home. A week before that, I went on a road trip to Phoenix, and then I went to Las Vegas, and now I'm home. Armand, my friend, I've met him at LA with all my other dropout friends. I can't remember what day we did it, but I know I didn't have school or any assignments. And the point I'm trying to make here is not that you just lose out on work or you have a bunch of freedom. I would actually say almost every one of the dropouts I know works harder than most of the people I know in school. It's just that you have control of your schedule. And when you have control over your schedule, you get to adventure more, you get to travel more, you get to do the things you want more. So that is the second pro of dropping out. The second con of dropping out is kind of along the same lines, and it's that lack of certainty. So what do I mean by this? When you go to school, you get assignments. And every time you complete an assignment, even if you really don't like your assignment, even if you say, oh, I really don't like writing essays, and I have an essay due this Friday, or I really don't like math, and I have a math test tomorrow. Every time you complete an assignment given to you, it gives you this sense of purpose, the sense of accomplishment. So if you don't know what you want to do, or you feel lost in life and school just keeps feeding you assignments and keeps feeding you these deadlines and you keep hitting them, you will feel a sense of purpose. And like I said, school generally leads to a 9-to-5 job. And what happens when you get in a 9-to-5 job? You get assignments, you get times to be in work. So then you go from getting your sense of purpose from school to getting it from your 9-to-5 job. People are giving you your sense of purpose. They're giving you assignments. They're giving you tasks. So then you feel, I have a sense of purpose. You don't have to create your own sense of purpose because it's given to you. In school, it's given to you through your assignments. In 9-to-5, it's given to you through your assignments. You might plug into a fraternity, to a sorority. You're given a sense of purpose there. You're given a sense of purpose in your office. And the second con of dropping out is that you have to define your sense of worth. There is days where I might work 12 hours on a video and post that video and it gets 5 views. And then if I'm measuring success by views, I feel like even though I did 10 hours of work, my sense of purpose is lost because it didn't amount into anything. When you're in school, you do your assignment and you know it means something. You know it contributes to your grade. It is a sense of purpose. But when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a dropout, you can sometimes work for 1 month, a whole month on a video series, and then decide this didn't benefit my channel, and it actually gave me backwards momentum. There's some times where you can work less hours than you usually do, and you just feel guilty for working less hours than you usually do because you assign your sense of purpose. And if you're used to doing 12 hours of work and one day you do 6 hours of work and you go, oh, like you feel... I guess my point with the second con is that your sense of purpose is a lot more wishy-washy when you're a dropout and when you're an entrepreneur. But in a way, your sense of purpose is better because you're pursuing something you care about more, and you kind of get to decide what you want to learn. But it's also, it's not as stable. Your sense of purpose is not as stable. And that's why I just give huge credit to God and Jesus and pursuing religion, because I used to make my sense of purpose so much about accomplishing on YouTube, so much about getting views, so much about new ideas. And now I just say my sense of purpose is as being a son of God and living the way that Jesus lived. And I can do that regardless if I'm in school, I'm in a 9-to-5, regardless if I drop out, whatever I do. So I'm so happy that I get my sense of purpose from Jesus. Let's see what Crunchy says. Hey, bro, it's same. had some issues related to dropout, but I don't know, something led me to different journeying, something like educate myself, what I really love in knowing myself, something like exploring different aspects in the world. Crunchy, I want to just validate you in your dropout journey. And something else I will say is that people act like when you drop out, you've just screwed your life and that there's no turning back. It's way easier to drop out and go back to school than it is to go all 4 years in school and try to get the time back. In fact, you can never get the time back. It's impossible, but you can always get the school back. So for all of history, you've been able to get the school back, and for all of history, you've never been able to get the time back. So I think that's a great opportunity for you to explore, and you actually just gave me another pro. I'm going to move on to my third pro of dropping out, and that is more aligned friendships. What do I mean by more aligned friendships? When you're in school, you might think that all your friendships arose naturally, and in a sense, they did arise naturally, and I don't want to discredit school friendships. My sophomore year dorm mates are some of my best friends in the world. But when you're in school, you get friends from class, you get friends from clubs, you get friends from sports intramurals, and you don't realize that your friends are being given to you just through the environment you're in. That's how all of life is. From the day you're born until the day you die, you pretty much join environments, and based on the environments you join, you find friends. The issue is finding friends in school. There's no issue in finding friends in school, but I would say the downfall of finding friends in school is that sometimes you might have friends, you might get fed friends that don't have the same morals as you. You might get fed friends that don't have the same aspirations as you, that don't have the same values as you, and you just think, and you've just become best friends with people that you don't actually get along with that well, or it's not that you don't get along with them. You might become best friends with people that you shouldn't be best friends with, or that you wouldn't actually want to be best friends with just because of your environment. And when you drop out, it is very lonely when you first drop out, or at least for me, it was very lonely. But you start pursuing the things you really want to do. So for example, I really wanted to be a podcaster and YouTuber. So almost all my friends are podcasters and YouTubers. So my friendships are way more aligned being out of school. Whereas when I was in school, I joined a fraternity and I had a lot of friends that were from the fraternity. However, I didn't like drinking, I didn't like partying, I didn't like chasing girls. So all my friendships were built on this shared interest of what fraternity guys like, and that is not any of my interest. And until I dropped out, I wasn't able to identify that. So dropping out is definitely a little bit more lonely at first, but your friendships are a lot more aligned, I would say, because it forces you to find friendships within your actual interests, within your actual morals. I would say almost all my friends are either YouTubers, entrepreneurs, creatives, or Christians, people pursuing Jesus, and that's how I want it to stay for the rest of my life. So I'm super satisfied with that. The last con of dropping out is drift away. So what do I mean by drift away? I just told you a couple minutes ago that some of my best friends in the world were my college dorm mates my sophomore year. These friends, God blessed me, and a lot of them had the same morals as me. A lot of them had the same aspirations as me. They were some of my best friends in the world. Out of my 6 male best friend roommates, 2 years ago we lived together, which ones I still talk to on a weekly basis? Zero of them. I talk to 0 of them on a weekly basis. Why? Because when you drop out of school, there's this natural drift away. Sometimes you have really good friends, and your friends are genuinely aligned with your purpose, your plan, what you like to do. But because you're not in the same location, because you're not in the same environments, you just simply drift away. This has happened to me so many times, and it's sad. I think it might be the most sad aspect of dropping out, but whenever you choose a new path, you sacrifice. And there is like 2 to 3 friends from college that I'm still really close with, and I talk to daily or weekly, and I cherish those relationships so much. But I had like 20 relationships that I loved in college, and now I have like 3 of them that remain, and that's just drift away. I would say drift away occurs a lot when you leave college, but drift away also occurs when you go anywhere and leave the environment. For example, last summer, I walked 150 miles across Spain. I was walking 8 hours a day with complete strangers, and I became best friends with these 3 girls from Spain and these 3 guys from Spain. And it was so awesome. At the end of the trip, they bought me this shirt and they wrote personal messages to me on the shirt. And they felt like my best friends for those 10 days. But I knew that when those 10 days ended and I flew back to California and they stayed in Spain, I know there was no way we were going to stay as close as we had always stayed. And we didn't. I was just in Vermont for a journal retreat for this custom journal company that my friend owns. I met a lot of people that I had really good conversations with, but I know that in the long run, they live in New York, I live here, we're probably not going to be friends in the long run, and it's not their fault, it's not my fault, it's not our morals, it's not their morals, it's drift away. And you won't experience drift away as intense as you will dropping out of school. The only other situation where you might experience drift away as intense as dropping out of school is if you move to a different city. And that is genuinely painful. So I'm going to recap the pros and I'm going to recap the cons, and then I'm going to move on to the other category. So the pros of dropping out of school are: 1, it forces conviction. When your parents who saved all their money for you to go to college and you go against that, and they disapprove of you, the 2 people you love most disapprove of you, and then your friends think you're an idiot for dropping out, and then you have people judging you and your loneliness, and you got to believe in yourself. All you have is you and God. That forces conviction, and conviction is the most successful trait in helping you succeed. The way you see what you do is how others will see it too. So if you believe in yourself, you're more likely to succeed, and dropping out of school forces you to believe in yourself, forces you to have conviction. The second pro is adventure opportunity. When you're in school, you have to operate on a schedule. You have to show up for class. You have to do assignments on a certain time. I still do as much, actually more work than I did when I was in school, but my adventure opportunity is way more bountiful because I'm not on a specific schedule. I get to travel. I get to do these cool adventures. I get to go drive up to LA. The second pro is adventure opportunity and time opportunity cost in general. When you're in school, you're wasting time on things that you don't want to do long term. I do still waste time on things I don't want to do long term. I don't know if I want to live stream long term, but I get to choose the things I test. I get to choose the paths I go down and reroute. It's not chosen for me by school. The third pro is more aligned friendships. When you're in school, you get friendships because of clubs, because of classes. If I meet friends from my science class and I actually have zero interest in science and I met them because we did a science project together, we're probably not going to have the same morals or same interest or whatever. But school, you get fed a bunch of friends that you probably are going to have the aligned interests that you have. However, when you drop out, you're going to have more aligned friendships because you join the communities that you're really passionate about. So the 3 pros: forces conviction, adventure opportunity, and more aligned friendships. The 3 cons are missing out. When you drop out of school, you're naturally going to miss out on the dances. You're going to miss out on the parties. You're going to miss out on the conversations in class. You're going to miss out on graduation and moving your little bowstring. You miss out a lot when you drop out. But the people in school miss out on the adventures that I have outside of school. The second thing is lack of certainty. When you're in school, you get your sense of purpose every time you complete an assignment, regardless if you think that assignment is regardless if you think an assignment is crucial to your career, regardless if you enjoy doing essays. Every time you complete an essay, every time you do a test, you feel a sense of accomplishment, the sense of purpose. I think as humans, we need a sense of accomplishment, a sense of purpose to accelerate in life. And school serves your sense of purpose on a silver platter. You get it every week in the form of assignments, in the form of class. You get it in the form of graduation, and that moves you into a 9-to-5 job, and you get your sense of accomplishment from assignments, showing up on work. And when you drop out and you're an entrepreneur, you have to just create your sense of purpose out of thin air. If I didn't film this podcast today, I would just feel horrible. I'd be like, I didn't do anything, even though I was working all day. I might film 5 podcasts in the day and still feel like I didn't do anything because I don't see any tangible views. Your sense of purpose when you drop out is so wishy-washy. And maybe I think focusing on God and following Jesus has helped me to get my sense of purpose from the only stable thing in this world. And second of all, I think that when you kind of start to succeed in those numeric success metrics, maybe people feel that sense of purpose more and more because you're actually building in the real world. But sense of purpose is super wishy-washy when you first drop out. And then the last con is drift away. When you leave school, you leave an environment. When you leave an environment, you naturally drift away from the people in those environments. And almost everyone who goes to college finds best friends there, and you choose to leave those best friends, and you probably will never be as close with them ever again as you were in college. Drift away is, in my opinion, the biggest con. It's the most painful, and that's it. So pros: forces conviction, adventure opportunity, more aligned friendships. Cons: missing out, lack of certainty, drift away. Does anyone have any questions? I know Armand and someone else are in here. I'm going to wait for some questions. Armand wraps up this statement really well. He says, I find peace of mind that I can go back to school anytime, but I can't get that YouTube time back. All the friends I made. That is so true. Can literally always go back to school. It's just fast. Let's see. Come on. Someone give me something. Give me something. Armand says, I find the idea of paying for something you dislike insane. What are my thoughts on that? I agree. I will say, though, it's not insane if you're kind of the one choosing it. Like, if I were to pay for some crazy live stream setup and I tried live streaming for a couple months and I realized I didn't like it, that's an experiment that accelerates me forward. Paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school, doing something which you knew you didn't like out of the gate, is pretty absurd. I think it's also absurd that people do it because it's the safe route. But statistically, it's not safer to pursue a job to pursue school because everyone's doing it. Therefore, 99% of students don't drop out, and therefore it's the most competitive thing. I don't know. I mean, YouTube's very competitive, so that's like very competitive as well. But generally, dream jobs, if they're not YouTube, they're generally less competitive than being in school. If I can do this, going to school and getting C's in classes to get a business degree with AI is a cakewalk. Dude, I wouldn't even put yourself at C's, bro. You can get A+ with AI. And that's part of the reason I also wanted to drop out of school, because everyone's cheating with AI, and then the students who actually work hard and care about their grades decide not to cheat because the teachers tell you not to cheat. And then the people who care most about school and are putting in the most work end up getting the worst possible result because they're competing against frat kids and sorority girls who don't care about their education at all and just use AI and cheat and get better grades. Which, this is not a criticism to the frat kids cheating. It's actually a criticism to both sides. It's a criticism to the goody two-shoes who are not smart enough to use AI. And it's a criticism to the frat AI kids who don't care enough to actually learn. So it's a lose-lose situation. That's what I think about AI and cheating. So Armand says, I was talking about the minimum requirement to pass because I just want to get a degree to check boxes in my resume and job interviews. I see what you're saying, Armand, but any job that is hiring for a degree probably won't be a job you'll get. We'll see. I don't know. What else? Enjoying munching on this. It's hard to embrace the slow live stream life. My background studies about CS, which I'm assuming is computer science. I recommend to you give basics enough time before AI. Yeah, I mean, I think both sides are screwing themselves, because if you're a student and you're not cheating, then you're going to be behind all the people using AI. And you're not only going to be behind the people using AI because they're cheating, but they're also going to be knowing how to use the AI tools better than you. On the other hand, if you just use AI out of the gate, then you're not actually learning anything. You're learning how to use AI tools, which actually is a good skill, but you might not actually learn anything about your degree or what you want to learn. So again, I think it's a lose-lose. I'm practicing my AI outside of school. I used ChatGPT to answer questions on LinkedIn so I can get badges, that virtue signal I know about relationship building, even though I mean, I think I do know about relationship building, but my badge on LinkedIn is completely because I use AI. Let's see. Any more questions before I get into these last 3 points? Come on, give me one more question. Armand, I actually love you for showing up to this live stream. One day when I have like 1 million subscribers, I'll be like, Armand was just sitting through that hour-long live stream. So we went through the 3 pros. The pros of dropping out of college are that it forces conviction, it gives you adventure opportunity, time opportunity cost, and more aligned friendships. The cons are that you miss out on adventures, experiences in school, lack of certainty, not having assignments or job. You kind of have to play with that sense of purpose and drift away. You naturally drift away from the friends, the people you met in college. The last 3 points are loneliness. Loneliness might sound like a con. Might sound like a con. Are you interested to know what is different from your vision? Yes, please tell me, Crunchy. I take criticism or feedback very, very good. I like to imagine that I take it good. Maybe I take it horribly. What was I saying? Loneliness. So when I dropped out of college, I experienced extreme loneliness because I moved away from all my friends who were in college. And that might sound like a con, but I think loneliness was not only was the best struggle that ever happened to me leaving college, but I think it's the best reoccurring struggle throughout my life because loneliness has pushed me to everything that actually matters. Loneliness is what made me go find a relationship with Jesus Christ, and my relationship with Jesus Christ it's everything to me. It's my sense of purpose. It's my joy. It's my peace. It's my eternal salvation. Loneliness, if you're not a Christian or you don't believe in any of that, loneliness helped me to force me to find friends that had the same values, morals as me. Loneliness is what helped me pursue my dreams, helped me keep creating. Loneliness is what brought my best friendships into my life. Loneliness is what made me realize my flaws. Time alone reflecting on your life, it sucks. But it is the most growth opportunity. And now that I've had loneliness so many times and I've seen the way it's played out in my life, when I go through lonely periods, I actually get excited now because loneliness used to be the thing that plagued me the most as an extrovert. As an extrovert, loneliness was like the worst thing in the world. And now I see it as time with God. I see it as ways to improve myself. I see periods of loneliness as one of the best things. So that's that. The second thing I would like to mention about dropping out that's kind of a neutral point is it never goes how you expect it to go. I thought I was going to drop out and within a year have like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and be this big sensation. When I dropped out, I wasn't really religious or a strong Christian or anything. I dropped out thinking I'm going to be one of the greatest YouTubers. I'm going to have X subscribers. I'm going to be praised by my peers. I'm going to prove my parents wrong. I had this prideful narrative, and I'm sitting here 2 years after dropping out, and I have about 200 more subscribers than when I dropped out. And I'm telling you, it was the best decision in the world. I'm way more of the person I want to be. I have the relationships I want to have. I'm pursuing the things I want to do, but I don't have any subscribers to show for it. And when I originally dropped out, I just thought I was going to have a bunch of subscribers. So dropping out was not at all what I expected it to be. And as far as my dropout friends that I've talked to or the people I know, dropping out really hasn't been for anyone I know what they expected it to be. Everyone kind of has this dream vision of what dropping out is going to be. And I'm yet to meet someone who their dropout experience exactly fulfilled their vision. So first of all, loneliness as a pro and a con. It's a con because you're lonely, and if you're an extrovert like me, that sucks. But it's a pro because it helps you work on yourself, brings you closer to God and other relationships. The second is it's never what you expect. I expected to be a millionaire and famous by now, and really, I am just as poor, just as unfamous, but I have way more of the values and the relationships I want to have, which are priceless. The third thing is being your own boss. Being your own boss, I think, is glorified as a pro. The same way you look at loneliness and you say, that's a con. That's what you say with being your own boss. That's a pro. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Being your own boss it's a pro because you get to create your schedule and you don't have to respond to anyone's orders or feedback. But it's a con because every day you have to give yourself your sense of purpose. You have to create your schedule. Sometimes you create a schedule for 6 months and that schedule doesn't advance your business at all because you've never been a boss before. So you have to be a leader while learning how to be a leader. It's like, imagine if you were teaching basketball to a group of kids, but you never played basketball. It's like you're teaching kids how to play basketball while learning how to play basketball. It's great because you force yourself to play basketball. You've put yourself in a position where to teach, you need to learn. Being your own boss, to be your own boss, you need to learn. But sometimes you're really bad at the role because you've never played the role. And so being your own boss is very, very stressful. It's very hard, but it's also very freeing. It's also very liberating. It's so gratifying is what Armand says. So those are my 3 pros, my 3 cons, and my 3 neutral points. The 3 pros are it forces conviction, it gives you adventure opportunity, more aligned friendships. The 3 cons of dropping out are you miss out on experiences, you miss out on class, friendships, whatever. Lack of certainty, you don't get your purpose as easily as you do in a 9-to-5 job or school, and you experience drift away. By leaving the environment with the most people your age, you naturally drift away from a large amount of friends. And the 3 neutral points are loneliness. When you drop out, you generally go through a lonely period. That lonely period sucks, but it leads you to true, more aligned friendships, to true, more aligned work. It's never what you expect it to be. When I dropped out, I expected to be a millionaire and have 1 million subscribers. I actually 2 years later have the same amount of subscribers and less money, but I'm way more fulfilled in my relationships and my morals and my values. And the third is being your own boss. Being your own boss is very freeing. It's very gratifying because you don't have to take orders from anyone else, but at the same time, it sucks because you're not the best leader compared to people who've been in the game a while. You have to learn how to give yourself purpose, give yourself a schedule. You have to be super disciplined. So there's pros and cons to all 3 of loneliness, having an expectation of dropping out, and being your own boss. I really, really, really hope this live stream has been valuable or interesting to some of you guys. It's my first live stream podcast. It feels really weird to try to entertain an audience while also responding to comments, while also leaving and not speaking every second. So I know it's just Armand and Crunchy and one other person here. Please, I'm going to sit here for another 2 minutes. Please ask your final questions about dropping out. And please let me know what you thought of the stream. Armand, I appreciate you already coming in here and saying mad valuable, bro. That really means the world to me. I love you, and I'm going to really remember this because since the moment we've talked on the phone, you've just been so supportive. And I know that you don't only do that for me, that you do that for a variety of people and creators and YouTubers. And that is, I know you probably don't even expect anything out of it, but that is going to come back for you, bro. You're just such a loving, supportive person, and you're inspiring me to do the same for others. And to take an hour out of your night and sit here with me and conversate with me is just, bro, it truly means the world. So thank you, Armand. Crunchy, if you have any more questions before I pop off this live stream, I'm probably going to end it in about 2 minutes. When our community of job out YouTubers is as tight-knit as it is, I'm glad to just know you guys. It makes me feel less alone. That's facts. Facts. I'm so grateful to have people who are not only my friends, but they're as ambitious as I am, to be surrounded by people who truly encouraged me to pursue my dreams. And I don't even like the word pursue my dreams because it implies that my dreams are in the future. Bro, I'm living my dreams right now. There is going to be a time when I have 1 million subscribers and I have millions of dollars in the bank, and I'm going to wish that I could go back to this time. So instead of wishing that I could go to that time, I'm just going to cherish this time. And when I'm in that time, I'm going to cherish that time because enjoy the journey, right? Thank you, guys. I love you, Armand and Crunchy. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. You are going to go down in history in my life as sitting through the first live stream podcast. And anyone who listens to this later, let me know what you thought of this. If you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, is it weird to upload this? Should it be a YouTube only thing? Should it be outside of the regular podcast? What do you think? Please give me feedback, text me, call me, comment below, leave a voicemail on Spotify, whatever it is. I love you all. And thank you, Jesus, for everything. Peace out. Boop.